Rain streaked down the windows of Victoria Hayes's bookstore as she stared at the diamond ring that felt like a shackle. 3 years she'd built this sanctuary between worn paperbacks and coffee-stained pages. Now, it was all collateral in someone else's game. Her phone buzzed. Mother. Again. Victoria, darling, Nathan confirmed dinner at Lumiere tonight. Wear the blue dress. We've met 5 times, Mother. How many first impressions can I make? Silence stretched between them like a wound. Then softer, I know this isn't what you dreamed of. But dreams don't pay debts. Victoria's father had gambled their legacy on bad investments. The Hayes family empire had crumbled in 6 months. What remained was this arranged marriage to Nathan Sterling, billionaire tech heir. A man whose eyes assessed her like quarterly reports that evening. Lumiere's chandeliers cast cold light across white tablecloths. Nathan stood when she entered. Perfect posture, perfect suit, perfectly hollow. You look lovely, he said. Thank you. They sat. They ordered. They performed. Your mother mentioned expanding the children's section, Nathan said, cutting his steak with surgical precision. I believe in fostering reading habits early. Victoria leaned forward, desperate for something real. My grandmother used to read to me every night. Peter Pan was my favorite. She'd do all the voices. He nodded. Sound business strategy. Targeting young consumers builds long-term loyalty. The words hit like ice water. Everything was business. Every breath calculated. Later, in her apartment above the bookstore, she called Sophie. I can't do this, Soph. What if I spend my whole life with someone who sees me as just another acquisition? Then test him. What? Create a situation where you see who he really is. Show up somewhere he'd be, but disguised. See if he's capable of passion when he thinks his fiancé isn't watching. Victoria's heart hammered. That's insane. You're about to marry him? Don't you want to know if there's a real person under all that ice? The idea took root, wild and dangerous. Nathan's assistant called 2 days later. The charity gala. Strictly business. No fiancés, Victoria made her decision.
Ow.
Sophie, I'm doing it. I'm going to that gala, and I'm going to find out if Nathan Sterling has a heart. Sophie's voice crackled with excitement. Finally. Okay, we need a complete transformation. Hair, makeup, everything. You need to become someone he's never seen before. Through her window, stars broke through the clouds. Sometimes, you had to create your own answers. The game was about to begin. Sophie's apartment became a war room. Fashion magazines scattered across every surface. Makeup palettes lined the coffee table like ammunition. We change everything, Sophie declared, circling Victoria like a predator. Nathan knows you as soft and conservative. We make you bold, unforgettable. Victoria studied herself in the mirror. Mousy brown hair, minimal makeup, safe choices. The woman she'd been trained to be. Who is she? Sophie asked. Your alter ego, Scarlett Monroe. The name tasted like rebellion. Art dealer from New York. Recently moved to Boston. Transformation took 3 days. Hair dyed a rich auburn with subtle highlights that caught the light. Smoky eye makeup that made her green eyes dangerous. A crimson dress that hugged curves she usually hid, with a slit that climbed her thigh like a dare. The night of the gala, Victoria barely recognized herself. Scarlett Monroe stared back from the mirror, sharp and hungry. Remember, Sophie coached, different posture, different voice. Lower register. Slower speech. You're confident, mysterious. You don't need anyone's approval. The grand ballroom glittered with Boston's elite. Crystal chandeliers, champagne towers, the quiet hum of money and power. Victoria's pulse thundered as she stepped inside. Then she saw him. Nathan stood near the bar. Dark suit perfectly tailored, surrounded by admirers. But something was different. His shoulders were looser. His smile, though still controlled, reached his eyes. This was Nathan in his element, unguarded. She approached slowly, every step calculated. Champagne, she told the bartender, her voice lower than usual, touched with gravel. Nathan turned. Their eyes met. For 3 heartbeats, nothing. Then his gaze traveled down, back up, lingering. Something flickered in those green eyes she'd thought were frozen solid. Interest. "I don't believe we've met," he said, extending his hand. Nathan Sterling. Scarlett Monroe. His hand was warm, strong. He held on a second too long. "I've heard the name. Sterling Industries. Impressive empire. And you. Art dealer. I acquire beautiful things for people who appreciate them." His eyes darkened. "That sounds like a dangerous profession. Only if you're afraid of beauty." The conversation flowed like wine, rich and intoxicating. Nathan asked about her work, her favorite artists, her philosophy on risk. He leaned in when she spoke. He laughed, genuinely laughed. At her observations about Boston's art scene, this was a man Victoria had never met. Present, engaged, alive. "You're different from the usual crowd here," Nathan said, his voice dropping lower. "Everyone wants something. You seem like you already have everything you need. Maybe I just hide my wants better." His smile was slow, dangerous. "Now I'm intrigued." They moved to the balcony, away from the crowd. City lights sprawled below them, the November air, sharp and clean. "Can I confess something?" Nathan asked, standing closer than politeness required. "Confessions on a first meeting, bold. I'm engaged." The words hit like stones. "To a woman I barely know. An arrangement to save her family." Victoria's chest tightened. "That sounds complicated. It's a prison." His jaw worked. "She's lovely, truly. But there's no spark, no fire. I look at her and feel nothing but duty." Each word was a knife. Sometimes Victoria heard herself say, "We don't know what we have until we see it differently." Nathan turned to face her fully. "What if what I have isn't what I want?" The space between them crackled with tension. He stepped closer. Scarlett. Her name, the false one, on his lips. He reached up, fingers grazing her cheek. Then his phone rang. He glanced at the screen. "It's my fiancé," he answered. "Victoria, hello." "No, it's fine. The gala is almost over. I'll call you tomorrow." Cool, dismissive, the voice he used with her. He ended the call and looked at Scarlett with heat Victoria had never seen directed at her. Where were we? Victoria felt the world tilt. This was the truth. Nathan Sterling could feel passion. "Just not for her. I should go," she whispered. "Don't." His hand caught her wrist, gentle but insistent. "Stay. I want to know you. You don't know anything about me? Then let me learn." The betrayal was complete. Not his, but hers. She'd proven what she feared. She wasn't enough. Scarlett was Victoria fled the balcony, heart fracturing with each step. Behind her, Nathan called out, "Scarlett, wait." But she couldn't. If she stayed one more second, she'd shatter completely. Sophie found her in the bathroom, mascara streaking down her cheeks. "He loves her," Victoria choked out. "Scarlett. He loves a woman who doesn't exist. He called me the real me and dismissed me like a business obligation. Then looked at her like she was air." Sophie pulled her close. "Vic, you need to end this. The engagement. All of it. I can't. My family. Your family isn't worth your soul." But Victoria couldn't let go. Not yet. The debt was too crushing, the obligation too heavy. So she did something worse. She kept seeing him as Scarlett. It started with coffee. Nathan found her at a gallery opening 3 days later, his face lighting up like dawn. "I've been looking for you. Persistent. When I want something, I don't stop." Wow. They talked for hours. Art, philosophy, dreams. Nathan revealed pieces of himself Victoria had begged for and never received. His difficult childhood with demanding parents, his loneliness at the top, his fear that he'd become exactly what his father was, successful and empty. "My fiancé," he said over wine that night. "She looks at me like I'm supposed to save her. I don't know how to save anyone. I can barely save myself." Maybe she doesn't need saving. Maybe she just needs you to see her. "I've tried. There's nothing there. No connection. No spark." He reached across the table, fingers intertwining with hers. Not like this. The guilt was acid in Victoria's throat. They met again, and again. Each time, the lies deepened. Each time, Nathan fell harder for the illusion. 2 weeks before the wedding, he kissed her. It happened in the rain, outside a theater where they'd watched a French film neither remembered. He pulled her close, hands cupping her face like she was precious. "I'm falling in love with you," he whispered against her lips. The kiss was everything Victoria had dreamed of. Passionate, desperate, real. She kissed him back, drowning in the lie. When they parted, his eyes were tortured. "I can't marry her. Not feeling like this, it wouldn't be fair." Victoria's world stopped. This was the turning point. He'd choose Scarlett. Choose love. Her family would lose everything, but she'd have him. "Nathan," she started. His phone buzzed. A text. He glanced at it, and his face changed, hardening into the mask she knew so well. "It's my father. Wedding venue confirmed. Press release tomorrow." He looked at her with such pain. "I'm trapped, Scarlett. The contracts are signed. My family's reputation, her family's debt. If I back out now, both families are destroyed. The business partnerships, everything. So you'll marry her. I have no choice. But I'll be thinking of you. Every day, every night. You're the one I want." The words should have been a bomb. Instead, they felt like poison. "You should go," Victoria said quietly. "Scarlett, go, Nathan. Go be dutiful." He left, and Victoria stood in the rain, realizing the horrible truth. She'd wanted to test if he could love. He could. Just not the real her. That night, Sophie found her on her apartment floor, still in the scarlet costume, sobbing. "I have to tell him, Vic. No. He deserves the truth. I'll tell him at the wedding rehearsal. Before it's too late." She looked up, eyes red and swollen. "Maybe when he knows Scarlett is me, he'll realize he loved me all along. That I was always enough." Sophie's expression said what her words didn't. That was magical thinking, but Victoria had to try. She'd sacrificed her dignity, her honesty, her heart. She couldn't sacrifice the last shred of hope. The rehearsal dinner was in 3 days. She'd tell him then. She'd confess everything and pray he'd forgive her. Pray he'd see that the woman he loved and the woman he was marrying were the same person. The phone rang. "Nathan." "Victoria." His voice was businesslike. "My mother wants to meet tomorrow to discuss the seating chart. Can you make 2 o'clock? "Of course, good. This will all be over soon." Over. Like a transaction completed. She ended the call and made her decision. She'd become Scarlett one last time. She'd meet him tomorrow before the appointment with his mother. She'd tell him the truth face to face, as herself, and let the cards fall where they may. But fate had other plans. The next morning, her phone exploded with texts. From her mother. From Nathan's assistant. From Sophie, photos. Tabloid photos. Nathan and Scarlett, kissing in the rain. The headline, "Sterling Heir's Secret Affair, Days Before Wedding." Victoria's hands shook as she read the article. Someone had followed them, photographed them, sold the story. Her phone rang. Nathan. His voice was ice. "Did you know about this?" "What?" "No. I just saw my father is threatening to cut me off. Your family's debt will go unpaid. Everything we've built, destroyed. Because of this woman, Nathan, I can explain. Can you? Can you explain why, days before our wedding, there are photos of me with another woman? Do you know her? Did you hire her to sabotage this?" The accusation struck like lightning. He thought she'd set him up. Hired Scarlett to destroy the engagement. "I didn't hire anyone." "Then who is she, Victoria?" "Because I need to find her. I need to fix this before my family destroys yours." The betrayal was complete. Not just his, but the universe's. She'd tested him and lost. She'd become someone else, and he'd fallen in love. And now, the lie had consumed everything. "I don't know," she whispered. It was the final lie, the one that would cost her everything. "The wedding is in 2 days," Nathan said, his voice hollow. "We're going through with it. My lawyers will handle the press. But after this, don't expect anything from me but a signature on papers." He hung up. Victoria stood in her apartment, the woman in the mirror, both stranger and truth, and realized she'd destroyed the only chance she'd ever had. The wedding dress hung in Victoria's closet like a ghost. White silk, hand-stitched lace, a prison in fabric form. In 36 hours, she'd wear it and become Mrs. Nathan Sterling. A wife to a man who loved someone else, someone who was her. Sophie sat on the bed, hands clasped tight. "You have to tell him today. Now, he'll never forgive me. He might. But if you marry him with this lie between you, you'll both be destroyed." Victoria's phone buzzed. Her mother. "Darling, the tabloids are vicious, but Nathan's PR team is handling it beautifully. They're spinning it as a misunderstanding, a case of mistaken identity. Everything will be fine. Mother, what if I can't do this?" Silence, sharp as glass. Then cold. "Your father had a heart attack last night, stress-induced. He's stable, but the doctors say another shock could kill him. This wedding is happening, Victoria. For all of us." The call ended. Sophie reached for her hand. "Vic, I know." Victoria's voice was hollow. "I'm trapped. If I confess, the wedding ends. My father dies. My family loses everything. But if I go through with it, I lose Nathan and myself. There has to be another way." But there wasn't. Victoria had painted herself into a corner with lies. And now everyone she loved would pay the price. The rehearsal dinner was that evening. Sterling Manor, Nathan's family estate, all marble columns and old money. Victoria arrived in a simple black dress, her hair back to its natural brown. The armor of Scarlett Monroe stripped away. Nathan stood in the foyer, devastatingly handsome in a dark suit. When he saw her, something flickered in his eyes. Not warmth, not hatred, just a dull, resigned acknowledgement. "Victoria, Nathan, we should talk privately." He led her to his study, closed the door. The room smelled of leather and expensive whiskey. "I need to know the truth," he said, pouring himself a drink. "Did you know about that woman, Scarlett?" This was the moment. The precipice. Victoria could confess everything. Or she could protect what little remained. No, she lied. "I didn't know. My investigators found nothing. No record of a Scarlett Monroe in New York. No art dealer matching her description. It's like she never existed. Maybe she didn't want to be found." Nathan's laugh was bitter. "Of course not. She got what she wanted. Destroyed my engagement, probably got paid by some competitor to humiliate me. Each word was a knife. Nathan, do you want to marry me?" He looked at her then, really looked, and she saw the truth in his eyes. "No." "Then don't. It's not that simple. Your family's debt, forget the debt. If you're this miserable, we'll find another way." "There's no other way." He slammed the glass down. "My father made that clear. If this wedding doesn't happen, he'll ensure your family is blacklisted from every financial institution in America. Your father won't just lose money. He'll lose his health, his reputation, everything. Can you live with that?" Victoria felt the trap close around her throat. "No, then we're both prisoners." The dinner was torture. Smiling faces, toasts to their future, the weight of expectation crushing the air from the room. Victoria sat beside Nathan, their hands clasped for photos, their faces masks of contentment. Under the table, Nathan's hand was cold, lifeless. After dessert, Victoria excused herself to the bathroom. She stood at the sink, staring at her reflection, and made a decision. She would free him. She found Nathan's father, Richard Sterling, in his private office. The man was a shark in Armani, all calculated moves and cold ambition. "Mr. Sterling, I need to speak with you. Make it quick." "I have calls to make." Victoria straightened her spine. "I want to call off the wedding." His eyes narrowed. "Excuse me?" "Nathan doesn't love me. We both know this is a business arrangement, but it's destroying him. I'm offering you an alternative. I'll sign a non-disclosure agreement. I'll disappear quietly. In exchange, you give my family time to restructure the debt. 5 years, manageable payments. No public humiliation. Richard studied her like an insect under glass. And what does Nathan get? His freedom. His chance at real happiness. You think he'll find happiness? Richard's smile was cruel. My son is incapable of it. He's too much like me. That woman, Scarlett, she was a fantasy. She would have disappointed him eventually, just like you have. Maybe. But he deserves the chance to find out. No. Richard stood, towering over her. The wedding happens. Nathan marries you. Your family keeps their dignity. Everyone wins. Except Nathan. Except me. You'll learn to live with it. Most people in arranged marriages do. Victoria realized then that Richard Sterling didn't care about his son's happiness. Only legacy. Only power. She left the office, found Nathan on the terrace, staring at the city lights. I tried to free you, she said quietly. I offered your father an out. He refused. Nathan turned, and in his eyes, she saw something shift. Not love, but understanding. You did that for me? You deserve to be happy, even if it's not with me. For a long moment, they stood in silence. Then Nathan spoke, his voice rough with emotion. That woman, Scarlett. When I was with her, I felt alive. Like I could be someone other than my father's son. Someone real, maybe you still can be. Not married to you? Said it without cruelty, just fact. We'll be strangers sharing a house, then let's make a deal. Victoria met his eyes. We marry tomorrow. We protect our families. But privately, we live separate lives. No expectations. No pretense. Just survival. A marriage in name only. Yes. Nathan extended his hand. Deal. They shook, sealing their fate. 2 prisoners agreeing to share a cell. As Victoria walked back inside, she caught her reflection in the glass door. For a moment, she saw Scarlett staring back. The woman Nathan loved. The woman she could never be again. Tomorrow, man. She'd marry a man who would spend his life mourning someone who never existed. And she'd spend hers mourning the man she'd destroyed before she ever really knew him. The ultimate sacrifice. Not of love, but of the possibility of it. The wedding day dawned cold and gray. Victoria stood in the bridal suite, the white dress a beautiful lie, her heart a stone in her chest. Sophie helped with the veil, her fingers trembling. It's not too late. Yes, it is. Downstairs, 300 guests waited. Her father, recovered enough to walk her down the aisle, dabbed at his eyes. Her mother radiated triumph. Nathan's family exuded satisfaction. No one was happy. Everyone was relieved. The church was a cathedral of white roses and suffocating perfume. The organ played. The guests rose. Victoria took her father's arm and began the walk toward her future. Nathan stood at the altar in a black tuxedo, his face unreadable. The man she'd tested, the man she'd lied to, the man she'd inadvertently fallen in love with while pretending to be someone else. She was halfway down the aisle when the church doors slammed open. A woman stood silhouetted in the doorway. Auburn hair. Crimson dress. Scarlett Monroe, except it wasn't Victoria. It was Sophie at the wedding. Sophie's voice rang out, clear and strong. I have something to say. Chaos erupted. Gasps, murmurs, Nathan's father rising from his seat. But Nathan just stared, frozen. Sophie walked down the aisle, heels clicking like a countdown. She stopped beside Victoria. I'm Scarlett Monroe. Or rather, I pretended to be her. But the woman you fell in love with, Nathan, was never me. She reached up and pulled off the auburn wig. Beneath was Sophie's short black hair, or the costume. I played the part for the photos. But every word you heard, every conversation you had, every moment of connection, that was Victoria. She wore a disguise because she needed to know if you were capable of love. If the man she was being forced to marry had a heart. Nathan's face drained of color. He looked at Victoria, really looked, and she saw the moment recognition crash through him. You, his voice was barely a whisper. At the gala, that was you, yes. Every conversation, the balcony, the gallery, the theater. Yes, you lied to me. I did. Victoria's voice broke. I lied because I was terrified. Terrified that you'd marry me out of obligation, and I'd spend my life with someone who could never love me. So I tested you. I became someone else to see if you were capable of passion. And you were. Just not for me. For the version of me that didn't exist. Nathan stepped down from the altar, his eyes blazing. You manipulated me. Made me fall in love with an illusion. I know. And I'm sorry. But Nathan, everything Scarlett said to you, that was me. My thoughts, my feelings, my dreams. The only thing that was fake was the hair and the makeup. The connection was real, was it? His voice was cold. Or was it just another lie? It was real. Victoria's voice rose, years of suppressed emotion finally breaking free. When you told me about your childhood, I ached for you. When you laughed, really laughed, my heart soared. When you kissed me in the rain, I felt alive for the first time in my life. I fell in love with you, Nathan. Not with the arrangement, not with the money. With you, then why didn't you tell me? Because I was afraid. Afraid you'd hate me? Afraid you'd choose duty over love anyway? Afraid that the moment you knew Scarlett was me, the magic would die. Silence stretched between them, heavy with years of might-have-beens. Nathan's father stood. This is absurd. The wedding continues. Everyone sit down, no? Nathan's voice cut through the chaos. He looked at his father, and Victoria saw steel in his spine. I'm done living your life. Done making choices based on legacy and reputation? What? He turned back to Victoria. You lied to me, deceived me, made me fall in love with a ghost, I know. But you also showed me something I'd never seen before. Passion, joy, the possibility of being more than my father's heir. His voice softened. You showed me myself. He reached up, cupped her face the way he had his Scarlett. I was falling in love with you even before the disguise. Those dinners, those conversations, I felt something stirring. But I'd buried it so deep under duty and expectation that I couldn't recognize it. Scarlett didn't create the feelings. She just gave me permission to feel them. Victoria's breath caught. Nathan, love you. Not Scarlett. Not the arrangement. You, Victoria Hayes. The woman who owns a bookstore and believes in fairy tales and was brave enough to risk everything for the truth, even though I lied. Especially because you lied. You cared enough to fight for us when I'd already given up. He turned to the guests. I'm not marrying Victoria to save anyone's reputation or pay anyone's debts. I'm marrying her because I choose her. If my family can't accept that, they can leave. Richard Sterling's face turned purple. You'll be disowned. Cut off from everything. Good. I'll build something of my own. With Victoria beside me, Nathan looked at Victoria's father. Sir, your debt. I'll handle it personally. Not through my family's money. Through mine. The accounts I've built separate from my father. It'll take time, but we'll manage it. Together. Turned back to Victoria, and in his eyes, she saw everything she'd been searching for. Not the cold air. Not the dutiful son. But the man who'd laughed with Scarlett and was brave enough to love Victoria. So, Victoria Hayes, will you marry me? Not because you have to, but because you want to. Tears streamed down her face. Yes, God, yes. The kiss was not their first, but it was their truest. In front of 300 witnesses, Nathan Sterling and Victoria Hayes chose each other. Not perfectly, not without scars. But honestly, Richard Sterling stormed out, taking half the guests with him. But Victoria's father smiled through his tears. Her mother dabbed at her eyes. And Sophie winked from the front row. The minister cleared his throat. Well, shall we begin again? And they did. The vows were simple. The promises real. When Nathan slipped the ring on Victoria's finger, it didn't feel like a shackle. It felt like freedom. Later at the reception, as they danced under strings of lights, Nathan whispered in her ear, "I have a confession." "Another one?" "I knew it was you." At the gala, halfway through the first conversation, Victoria pulled back, stunned. "What? The way you tilted your head when you were thinking? The phrase you used, dangerous profession. You'd said the same thing at our second dinner when describing your bookstore in a tough neighborhood. The disguise was good, but I knew," smiled. And it was the smile she'd fallen in love with. "I just wanted to see how far you'd go, what you were searching for. Turns out, it was the same thing I was. Something real, you bastard." She laughed, half furious, half awed. "You let me torture myself. I let you discover that I was worth fighting for. Just like you were." They kissed again, and the ballroom dissolved into applause. It wasn't a perfect love story. It was built on lies and tests and desperate measures. But sometimes, the most beautiful things grow in broken places. Victoria Hayes and Nathan Sterling had tested each other, deceived each other, and nearly destroyed each other, and in the ashes of who they'd pretended to be, they'd found something neither expected, the truth, the end.